What is going on, crypto enthusiasts and crypto connoisseurs? I'm Doge Lore on Crypto, and I'm here to help you download this week's lore on alt season. For today's lore, I will cover 3 unique altcoins that we can see blast off to the moon in just a few weeks to come.
So before we can even start talking about crypto, we have to first figure out where is all this money flooding from. And for that, we can look to the DXY, which basically just represents the US dollar compared against other currencies around the world. For example, like the Japanese yen, or the euro in Europe, or even the Canadian dollar. So what you see on my screen is that I am just plotting a couple of trend lines on the DXY chart to kind of indicate that we are on this downward trajectory and inside of a falling channel, which represents that the US dollar is actually falling in value when compared to all these other currencies. And as the US dollar falls in value, everyone's wondering, where do I move my money so I get the most bang for my buck? And that's where the idea of investing into crypto starts to come into play for a lot of different people. Everyone is just super bullish about hearing the fact that, I made 5x, 10x, 100x on my investments in Bitcoin and in crypto. And of course, it's very enticing to everybody. In the DXY chart, you can see that there is actually a little wedge that is sort of coming outside of our falling channel and may be an indication that, hey, look, maybe we're about to rebound and the US dollar is about to actually grow in value. But this could just be that, hey, we're just testing the waters at a resistance point, and that when the markets open up on Monday, we may be either going up or down. If we see that we are still going down and that we weren't able to break that level of resistance, then that could be a huge indicator that people are continuing to invest into crypto.
It's only natural that when we first start talking about crypto, we talk about the coin that everyone and their mothers have heard about, aka Bitcoin. Just look at the graph of Bitcoin and it kind of tells the entire story. This amazing parabolic growth and these exponential returns of a 2x, 3x, even 5x. Over the last couple of months, Bitcoin has been just flying off the roof. And if we just look at the last month in December, we were around roughly $20,000. And now, today, around January 8th, we are trading at $40,000. That is 100% growth on your investments. And if you had invested only like $5,000, that would have doubled and would have been close to $10,000 already. So I don't want to stick too much on the topic of Bitcoin for too long because that's not the whole point of this video, but it does kind of lead into why it's alt season and why we should start thinking about some of the alternative coins, especially if we just look at roughly the last week or maybe even roughly 2 weeks of what Bitcoin has been doing. Yes, Bitcoin has been hitting all-time highs almost every single day now and almost every single hour at the same time. But if you just look, you can see that Bitcoin is starting to sort of taper off and come into a little bit more of a consolidation point, a point of convergence, if you will. It's starting to roughly I think a good way of putting this is sideways trade, and you can really just see that it's not really changing by too much. A 6% fluctuation in a Bitcoin level at this point, that's kind of normal, and honestly, I'm not too surprised that it would do something like that. Yes, Bitcoin is still, as you can tell, growing in the general direction, but you can see that it's sort of kind of also coming back down at the same time and staying in this general area of around 41,000 to 40,000, maybe even 39,000, just playing around in that area, looking for some support. Now, in the next couple days, what we're going to be looking for, and is keen to figure out where we should be investing our money, is that Bitcoin may either continue in this parabolic growth going up and breaking past this resistance of around $40,000, $41,000, or it can continue to stay in this, leveling off convergence where it's just sideways trading for maybe the next week or 2 weeks or even the rest of the month, so that we can go ahead and start funneling our money into these altcoins and making them 10x, 15x, 20x, possibly even 100x gains. If I didn't know any better, it looks like that this is the Bitcoin chart all over again that I was just showing a couple minutes ago. Well, it's not. This is actually Ethereum, and as you can see, Ethereum has had its own blast off right as the holiday season was ending. it decided to go ahead and take a little rocket ship. Now, I just want to make a good little note about Ethereum. This coin is probably going to be the next coin financial institutions and big companies and banks are all going to start looking into once all the hype starts dying down for Bitcoin, which might take a little while. So while this coin is valued at 1,200 right now, and that we did miss the first possible run, I still think that this coin has a long way to go, and that once it's game discovered, it is just going to be going up. So I went ahead and I actually graphed a little zigzag of the high and the lows for Ethereum of roughly the last week or so. This is the time when it was taking a little blast off and making some parabolic gains. Trading before this, it was trading around 700, and now it's trading around roughly the 1,000, 1,100 mark. And as you can see here, the first threshold or the first point of resistance that Ethereum had, it played and it danced, going up and down. So it's going up, down, up again, down again, eventually just using this resistance and testing the waters every single time. As you can see, it got past it and it's like, okay, we have to try it again. And eventually it was able to break through, and it had enough support that it was able to go straight up and break through that previous resistance of around $1,100 to the point where it was able to make over $100 gains before it started meeting around another area of resistance close to around 1225, 1230-ish. And as you can see, it is once again just playing around with that area, getting closer and closer to the upper limit of our trend line, and it is just right now trying to see if it has that level of support to be able to go ahead and break past, or if it's going to end up having to go back down to our previous resistance, which is acting now as a support. Again, we are very similar pattern as before. We are trying it out. Okay, we didn't work out this time. We're going to try it again. Oh, didn't work out. And as you can see, we are currently even, playing the waters, coming back down a little bit. And now as Ethereum is getting closer and closer to that bottom trend line and also getting closer to that area of resistance, it's going to have to make a decision in terms of, is it going to be able to break out and start going for another parabolic gains going straight up? Or maybe it's going to find a little bit more resistance or possibly even go straight down. So over the next probably 1 to 2 days, what we're going to end up seeing is Ethereum is either going to be going down by about 10% to that previous area of support around the 1100 mark, where it's going to be trying to just look to consolidate a little bit before it goes ahead and tries again at the current resistance of around $1,200, or it's going to be shooting straight up, and it's going to be gaining at least, in my opinion, at least around 10 to 12%, looking at a new area of resistance around the mid to high 1300s. The first altcoin that we're going to be talking about today is Doge Coin, and if you guys remember all those rocket ships blasting off in the very beginning of this video, well, that dog that was on every ship is the face of Doge Coin. If we just look at Dogecoin from back in the summer when it was trading for under a cent, for like a fraction of a penny, so sometime probably around July to today, you can see that you would have easily made around 169% of your actual returns, which is, just insane to say. So let's take a look at Doge for roughly the past few days, and you can see we're actually in a falling channel and looking for some level of comfort and support to consolidate on, and you can definitely see that happening at the 1 cent mark. You can see that we have been constantly just badgering and hitting the support, looking to make sure, and you can see that it's actually strengthening and showing that, hey look, this is a foundation for you guys, we aren't going anywhere. While Doge continues to consolidate at the 1 cent mark, I think it's a perfect opportunity just to go ahead and start buying into it before it goes and makes another parabolic blast off to the moon to probably even 5 cents or 10 cents or maybe even higher to like 50 cents or even $1. So the next altcoin that I want to take a look at today is Polkadot. And if you were just to look at Polkadot in the last roughly 2 months and take, for example, let's go with about the beginning of December-ish and just look to see its high then, comparing it to like the low of today, you can see that we had a 66.9% growth in just the past month alone. That is an amazing amount of profit, and Polkadot is just starting. It is going to be growing and it is going to be going up, and let's jump into why. So in roughly the past week, we were able to actually introduce a new layer of support at around $9.20. As you can see here, Polkadot started to, just test out that support, making sure that we are able to stay there in a consistent level. And eventually we did try to break away, as you can see here, where we did eventually find some resistance around $10.50. But after that, we came back down and we went ahead and made sure that our support was still able to recover and bring us back up, in which we again tested the waters here around for $10.50. And we are currently right now on a little downward trend. But again, we are holding firm and steady on our $9.20 support, which kind of gives us a nice solid reassurance. As long as we have this, we won't be going back down. While it is still a possibility that we can go down, anything is of course possible, it is very unlikely seeing how strong the support has been holding for us. So what is next for Polkadot? Well, it really depends on how the next few days are going to be playing out. If Polkadot is able to actually break away and not go down, then not even the sky. The moon itself is going to be the limit, and we can see another potential parabolic blast off as Polkadot continues to follow this upward trend in the rising channel. For example, if we were to actually just zoom out over here a little bit and we were to look at this rising channel, we can see that Polkadot has a huge possibility of going up past easily $12, even past $13, and jumping all the way over to even $14 and $15. That is not an exaggeration, that's an actual possibility. And then the key point here is the next time we approach our resistance level, if we're able to break away, then we can have a definite parabolic rise going forward. And that can lead to huge amounts of gains. Remember, last time Polkadot had a parabolic takeoff, it gained 60%. So if we were to even just look at that again right now, where we are, we're to jump just around to $14, we can see we're already at that 55%. And it's even possible that Polkadot can go even higher to a closer target around $15 or even around $14.50. The next coin on our list is actually something that has just recently been released, and by that I would say it was made live to the public on Uniswap at the very end of December 2020. So around December 30th to December 31st, it came onto Uniswap, and immediately it was a hit. It skyrocketed just straight off, as you can see, and then it had some sideways trading for a little bit, but once Ether exploded, this token itself literally went off. And this exciting token is WISE. A good thing to note about WISE, and I think it's really important to note this, is that WISE is backed by Ethereum, and you can think of it like back in the 1800s when, and in the early 1900s when the US dollar was actually backed by gold. You can see here actually in a tweet that kind of shows this and hits the point home. When Ethereum blasted off in the past week, WISE did almost identical and the exact same, in which it also went for a parabolic blast off. And then also, if we just jump in, you can see here over the past 7 days of creation, because that's essentially all that they currently have, they have been escalating and they have been slowly going up in price. And the unique thing about this is that while it looks like a parabolic curve, when you're comparing it to the Ether graph, it can easily grow and continue to go up, since WISE is backed by Ether, which basically means that as Ether continues to grow and get stronger, the WISE token itself will also continue to grow and get stronger in a very similar fashion. I am extremely bullish right now about this token because it has so much potential and so much growth possible that it can easily 5x, 10x, possibly even more in the following couple of months just to come. Hey guys, as I'm actually recording my video and I'm putting it all together, I actually noticed something really interesting that happened with WISE overnight. Literally right after I'm like, all right, looks like I got all the recordings done, time to go to sleep. I found this huge thing when I woke up, which was that WISE actually had a bit of a consolidation and fell down after a huge bull run. And what it looks like now is that it looks like there's going on to be a little bit of a bull scenario, but that's not quite what's actually happening. Because if you look, what's going on here is that you can see most likely was that all these people who came in back in when the price of WISE was not even trading at 30 cents or even 20 cents, they probably came in then and they're like, okay, I'm going to be waiting for that even number about $1. Once I hit that mark of about $1, it's like, you know, a relatively good line to measure against. Like, okay, sweet, I can just make my profits over here and make like a 2x gain or a 4x gain. Even some people at the very beginning probably made a 5x gain if they were buying in at 20 cents. But as you can see here, right after we had that little sell-off where it wasn't one whale, it was actually probably a bunch of different people, you know, thousands, maybe tens of thousands trades going on at once. We had this little consolidation point back around the 78, 79 cent mark. But now, if we just zoom in and we look at what's going on at the 78, 79 cent mark, we can actually see we are once again in a rising channel. Finally, after all of those different bearish people like, oh no, I see why it's starting to sell off, I have to get my profits and everything. You can see here, once they all started like, okay, realizing, okay, I think it's time to try to buy back in and try to get back into the WISE train, we started having a level of resistance initially around the 77, 78 mark. As you can see here, we're testing the waters until eventually what ends up happening is that we can finally crack the resistance point. Now we are actually having another area of resistance around 80 cents, with the previous resistance acting as a support channel for us. And now you can see we are playing with the 80 cents. And once again, live, we are playing with the 80 cents again. So what is going to be happening now with WISE? It's going to be either one of two things in just a short-term scenario. It's going to be, you know, sideways trading a little bit in here, but generally going up and playing around with this area, or WISE is going to be able to break out and break this resistance area and continue in its parabolic curve, going up into making 10-time gains, 15-time gains, and so on and so forth. I believe that the next area of resistance, if WISE is able to actually break away, is going to be that $1 mark again, where it faced the initial level of resistance there. Once WISE gets back there, it's going to be the real test to see what is going to be going on. If it's able to get back up there, then you know it's going to be, okay, sweet, time to see and test those waters again. And if we can break out past that $1 mark, then this thing is going to be skyrocketing and shooting up and flying to the moon. Alright guys, well there you have it. Those are 3 coins: WISE, Polkadot, Doge Coin, that I'm going to be keeping an eye on, in addition to Ether and in addition to Bitcoin, for the next 2-3 weeks, as these coins have a huge amount of potential and are showing to be very, very bullish right now in being able to make 5x returns, 10x returns, and if you're willing to hold for the long term, you might even be able to see potential gains of 100x returns. Thank you all for staying to the very end. I really do appreciate it. Why don't you go ahead and hit that like button down below if you agree, and let me know what are some other coins that you guys want to review and keeping an eye on as well in the comments below.